again, everyone. I'm Kenny Rice. Welcome into this, the Horse Racing Show. And if you're keeping score, this is episode number 70. Remember, you can go back and look at us on YouTube or Google Play or iTunes and maybe listen to one of your favorite episodes or one of the favorite people that you have in the game of horse racing. And here's what they have to say about the sport of kings. Anyway, big show today. Evan Hammonds, managing editor of the Bloodhorse, will join us shortly. And later on, my close friend from NBC Sports, Eddie Olczyk, just kind of talking about the state of the horse industry right now. And with Eddie, we'll talk a little bit hockey, of course, because it looks like their season's going to be able to have at least some kind of season the rest of the way. Ben Chafin's on lead guitar again. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Kenny. How's it going?
Good to be back. How about that 70 episodes? Seemed like it was just 69 we started, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a short time ago.
I do like the history perspective of this. I've had people tell me that they have listened back to maybe they want to hear what Wayne Lucas said, or they were excited about Michelle Phillips, the actress and member of Mamas and Papas who were on, or Bill Belichick, or Pat Day or Shug McGahee, someone like that we've had on. And we've had on bunches. So yeah, I'm that's nice. It's nice that they do that.
It's a great concept because these interviews are just in the moment. They're not going to happen again. They are encapsulated.
Thank you. We just kind of roll with it. And of course, we could not do it without our researcher extraordinaire, Mr. Thomas Kenny. Hello, Thomas.
Hey guys, doing good.
Good. All of us have been thrown off a schedule and off rhythm, and I know, Thomas, you're the big car race guy. They're racing cars again. NASCAR is back on track, but it's not like the same order. Everything's a little different. They didn't just pick it up necessarily where they would have left off, right?
That's right. Starting a few weeks ago, they've actually been doing 2 races a week in the Carolinas. They started at Darlington. And they've basically been doing Sundays and Wednesdays, 1 race each day for 2 a week with no fans involved. And they've just been kind of going from track to track within North and South Carolina, short enough distance where the drivers don't have to really travel very much. It's all pretty contained.
And horse racing, not exactly doing it that way, but everything's been rearranged in the horse racing schedule, including some races like the Bluegrass Stakes, as we talked about last week, will now be run at Keeneland in July. But there's other races it's been kind of fun to see. They're becoming prominent. They haven't really moved on their schedule, but because the schedule has changed so much, with the Kentucky Derby being the first Saturday in September and the Belmont Stakes coming up in just a few weeks on the 20th of June.
That's right. We've got basically a whole new road to the Derby, so to speak, with races like the Indiana Derby and the Ohio Derby coming into play as, major races now.
Yeah, because, this was a time used to that these were the races that, let's face it, they'd be for the also-rans in the Derby or those that had a great excuse and wanted to maybe get back on track. It was like the AA of baseball, for example. But now the Ohio Derby, the Indiana Derby, the Los Alamitos Derby is listed as a point getter on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Ellis Park, with their Derby down in the western part of Kentucky, is now a major player on the way to Kentucky Derby. So from that standpoint, it certainly has made it interesting, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Eddie Olczyk has some very strong opinions, as he always does, particularly on maybe not just this year, but maybe the Triple Crown shake-up for horse racing will be changing in the future. That's up next. Eddie O, when he joins us, coming up right now on the Horse Racing Show. Don't go away. Welcome back into the Horse Racing Show. Delighted to have this guy on. He's a great friend. He's an Olympian, a member of the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame, and NBC Sports. He's number 16 in your program, number 1 in your hearts. He is Eddie Olczyk. Hello, Eddie.
Well, I must have given you a winner in the last couple of weeks, Kenny, for that introduction. Wow,
how was
that's what we're talking about. That's what hey, always great to be with you, pal. I hope you and your family and your dad are staying safe during these crazy times that we're in, and send you lots of love from the Olczyk family. It's always great to visit with you.
And same back to you and Diana and the kids, and everybody's good up in Chicago way, I hope.
Yeah, everybody's good. Yeah, we've been lucky. My two youngest kids have been at home during this whole pandemic, and we're just keeping an eye on my folks. And you know this, but I guess we'll share this with the world. I'm going to be a grandfather for the first time coming up in July, and my oldest son Eddie and my daughter-in-law Erica are going to have a young filly come into this world. So another Olczyk on the female side. So they're going to have a young filly, maybe on 7-Eleven. So maybe we'll get free Slurpees for the rest of our life with the young Olczyk born into this world. So yeah.
7-Eleven, come on! I'm rooting for you. The craziest part about that is the one thing, and we've talked about this for several episodes of this podcast, and is that horse racing has gone on. Some people caught on to it. You knew it all the way. And when did you ever think that you'd be studying Nebraska and Oklahoma racing as much as you have, in addition to Florida and Arkansas in this last few months?
Yeah, Fauner and Will Rogers have become favorite tracks on my ExpressBet account. That's for sure. As of late, it's been just really crazy times. And, I'd be watching anyways, but when you got a lot of free time like we all have and you love the game like we do, you're going to be investing in seeing horses and circuits and jockeys and trends that usually don't get an opportunity to follow. But it's been amazing that the game has continued. Our sport has continued. I think we've garnered some new fans, and hopefully we can continue that, Kenny, with the momentum that we have, and obviously with other tracks coming back and going through the special protocol and making sure that first and foremost in our game is that the equine athletes and, the jocks and the caretakers and the trainers and, the exercise people and the riders and the pony, the people in the post parade who ride the ponies and the gate crew, they're all safe. And we've been able to, give some entertainment to the public. And I think that we've picked up, I think a lot of fans and some momentum, and hopefully, once we get back to some normalcy, whenever that is that we'll get some of these people that were tuning in and getting their feet wet. They'll be going to their local tracks when that is allowed. And so, yeah, it's thankfully we've had it to pass the time and kill the clock. But, now you got some racing coming back that we're familiar with, but, we're all day to day in the big picture. So it's been a lot of fun to learn the new circuit, so to speak, with Fauner Park and Will Rogers here over the course of the last, 2+ months.
Yeah, Eddie, I told a couple of friends, they were asking me about it. I said, look, it's like this. Of course, we know the power conferences, you want to watch a basketball game.
Right.
But, if you go watch a good Division III game that's a close game and tight and you have enjoyment, I said, but if you're picking winners, if you're hitting a trifecta at Fauner, it may not be the Kentucky Derby you're watching, but you're going to get darned excited about it. And
oh no, exactly. Look at if you're watching and you're entertaining and you're getting your feet wet, it don't matter where the track is. It doesn't matter what team you got. Your money on their nose. It's action. It's a form of entertainment, and that's the way that it should be looked upon. There are very, very, very few people, Kenny, as we know, and there has been many that have tried to make that a source of a living, an income, to become a professional, handicapper or horse player or gambler. That is a tough racket, but if your entertainment dollars are going there, it doesn't matter. If you hit the exacta at Fauner, a 1-2 exacta for $40 or a 1-2 exacta at Gulfstream or Churchill, last time I checked, it pays the same. It doesn't matter, right? There's no, you're not getting less money because it's a so-called, a B or C track. And I think that, they've developed some new fans, and they've certainly developed a fan in Eddie Olczyk just with the product and the depth of the fields and, the consistency of the racetracks. It's been a lot of fun. It's opened my eyes, and hey, you're not living if you're not learning. And I've learned a lot about those B tracks, so to speak, and it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, Kenny, don't matter where the action's coming. You're getting paid, your hand is out, or you're checking You're checking your phone or your iPad or your Space Face or whatever the hell they call things now to check your account on your gambling, day-to-day activities.
Well, you're one of the few guys I know that actually could become a professional handicapper. You could quit working and just do this. I mean, you really could.
Well, I appreciate that, pal. I like it. I mean, my love and passion for our game and horse racing. I see a lot of similarities. Look, there are people out there that don't know who I am, but I mean, I played professional hockey for 16 years in the league. Hockey has been my life, but horse racing's been involved in my life as much as hockey has. And over the course of the last 5+ years, and getting a chance to get on the team with you or with our terrific NBC Sports racing team at for all the different events we do, from Triple Crown to the Breeders' Cup. And it's always been a part of my life. It's always been a release for me. Everybody has a release of some sort. And for me, when I was playing hockey or coaching or broadcasting, my way to get away from, the everyday goings on in my little world would be to pick up the form or to go to the track or play. And it's always been a part of my life. And I love it. I really love it when things are going well. And then you sit there and you question, like, will I ever pick another winner again sometimes? And that's the part of the game that keeps you coming back. At least it keeps me coming back, Kenny, as we've talked many a times, whether it's off the air or on the air during our NBC broadcast. It's in my blood. It always will be. And the ability to be able to try to foreshadow what the hell is going to go on. And that to me is what the greatest challenge is about handicapping, and enjoy it. And hopefully sitting on a nice score here, hopefully, considering what's gone on here the last couple of weeks, and everybody's got their stories of 4 or 5s and 5s or 6s and whatever. And you just I do feel that I am sitting on a nice score coming. I just got the feeling that one of these days I'm going to zig and zag, and instead of zigging and zigging or zagging and zagging, I'm going to zig and zag, and the numbers are going to come up right, and hopefully we'll get even over the course of the last couple of weeks. That's the best way to put it.
We're talking with Eddie Olczyk of NBC Sports. We're going to take a quick break and be back with Edzo right after this on the Horse Racing Show. Do not go away. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. Kenny Rice here. Glad that you're with us. Delighted to have my friend Eddie Olczyk, well known for hockey, well known for horse racing on NBC, and wrote a book, a very good book, by the way, Beating the Odds in Hockey and in Life, talking about his battle with cancer, a successful one that we're thankful for. That book came out last year, and you've done really well with it, Eddie, by the way.
Well, thanks, Kenny. Yeah, it was I started with my co-author Perry Lefko, who's an award-winning writer in Canada for horse racing, a big hockey guy. I met Perry back in the late '80s when I was playing for the Maple Leafs, and we just we talked about doing a book for a good period of time, and really never. I just was like, who wants to read a story about me, hockey player or whatever, and then. I got sick. I got sick back in August of 2017, and I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. And I started putting pen to paper during my battle, and I thought, maybe here's the opportunity, Kenny, to help somebody, to inspire somebody, to help them get through the day, let alone get through 6 months of hell of chemotherapy. And I talked to Perry, and it was very therapeutic. It really was. I put myself out there, as in the book. I don't hold back on my battle, where, there were times in my cancer fight where I was ready to quit. I mean, I had never quit at anything in my life, Kenny. People told me I would never make it. I would never make the U.S. Olympic hockey team in 1984 as a 16-year-old. They told me I was too young, and, I was from Chicago, and, hockey players don't come from Chicago when you're too young. And, I just, people, that's just the way that it was. And I was scared. I was I was worried, and I like I said, I never quit at anything in my life. I mean, if I was coaching or playing, or I was at the racetrack and I was down $20, I mean, well, hold on, scratch that. If I was down 200, I wasn't going to quit. I mean, I was going to say
if you were down $20, it's because you tipped the valet on your way in.
Yeah, well, that is true. That is true. But I would never quit. I would never do that. But it brought me to my knees. And I know we've talked many times, and you're a great friend, and you called me and texted me and check on me all the time, and that really helped. But I was ready to quit because it brought me to my knees. It tests your will to live, and I talk about that in the book vividly. My wife gave me the greatest inspirational speech that I ever had to help me get through my toughest time, and I think that's when I was like, you know what, Kenny, I thought, you know what, I have a story to tell, and I think that this could really bring it all together. And like I said, if I could help one person, if I can inspire them by reading my story and help them get through whatever situation they may be in, then it was well worth the 16 months of pen to paper to get the book out. And as some of my former, and I say former friends, have asked, they asked me if there are crayons with this book, and no, there are not crayons with this book. That's not the type of book that I wrote, and they did not get a free copy. So you know what, the hell with them. And the next book I write, I will carve them. I will carve them with a lawnmower there, and really get even with some of my former friends.
I tell you, these guys, huh? They come out of the woodwork.
Everybody is a proverbial plum buster. That's all I will say. Everybody is a plum buster. That's all I will say.
That's it. You know what's going to be exciting, Eddie? We're actually going to work together soon at the Belmont coming up on the 20th on NBC.
Yeah, can't wait, Kenny. It'll be a lot of fun to get back to some sort of normalcy. I know the plan is for you to be on site. I will not be on site, but I will be. The plan is to be working from home that day, and but it'll be great to be back with our team, and great to have the first jewel of the Triple Crown will be in Belmont, which is obviously strange, but hey, this is not a normal time for any of us, and just glad to have the opportunity to be a part of that on the 20th of June in the Belmont.
Yeah, that's what I've said to people that ask, well, what about the mile and an eighth Belmont? Will it be the same? Well, it's not going to be the same. What is the same? To me, they're still having it. To me, They're still going to have the Derby and the Preakness. Right. And when you see events that were totally canceled, you thought would never be canceled, I say, way to go.
Yeah. Look,
it's a good race.
Exactly.
It's going to be a heck of a race, I think.
Oh, it's going to be a great race. I think we're sitting on an opportunity here, Kenny, to really observe what is going on in our game, talking about horse racing. And look, you got to be quick on your feet, and things you can control and things you can. And what's taking place here is we were, you can't control those things. So you have to maneuver. You have to bring the powers that be at horse racing together and say, look, we need you to be flexible here. NYRA has done that. Big kudos to them. You shorten the race. It's the first jewel of the Triple Crown. Then you come back, a couple of months later, and then you got the first Saturday in September, and then we wait a month, and then we go to Baltimore for the Preakness, hopefully. So, look, I think that there's, I try to look at things, half full instead of half empty, and I think that here's an opportunity to learn a little bit, Kenny. I really do. I mean, look, I think the maturation is the most important part of this, but let's not forget, is the equine athletes here. This is an opportunity for these horses to mature, to be able to grow, to be able to learn. The trainers can take their time, obviously knowing now. Maybe we learned something out of this, Kenny. Maybe we get to the point where, let's do right by the maturation of the horse, and let's have the run for the roses on the last Saturday of May. Let's go 3 weeks later to the Preakness. Let's go 3 weeks later or a month later to the Belmont. This is a chance, this is an opportunity here to really explore, and most importantly, as I say, the equine athlete. And look, you're going to have to bring the powers at B together. You're going to have to bring NYRA, to the table. You're going to have to bring Belinda and Mr. Stronach to the table. You're going to have to bring Churchill Downs to the table. You're going to bring the Jockey Club, the Jockeys Guild, the Horsemen, Look at my belief, and I've told you this privately, but we're talking about this, so it's the perfect time. Our sport, we need a commissioner. We need a leader. We need somebody that has the ability to be able to galvanize and bring people together to take this game to another level. What is right? We need a voice. It's a competitive business. I get it. But we have an opportunity here, especially with the Triple Crown, to look past just what has been the norm. Look at Kenny, you know this, but you're a big basketball guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember the 3-point line being around when the Big O or Wilt Chamberlain was playing. I mean, you got the 3-point line now. I mean, how do you judge players now compared to that era when it comes to that? Hockey, now hockey doesn't have holding and clutching and grabbing and as much fighting as it did in the era of Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. Baseball, they moved in. A lot of the buildings the home run fences, are they not, Kenny, shorter than they
That's
were
right.
back 40, 50 years ago. So what I'm getting at is, look at the NFL too. The NFL's rules cater to offense. I mean, like back in the day, it was not like that. I mean, it was not catering to offense. It was just allowing the holding, the clutching, the grabbing, the running, or whatever. So what I'm saying is that I believe our game, horse racing, has an opportunity here to take a step back and look and go, you know what? Maybe it is right. First and foremost, that's my view on it. First and foremost, what is right by the horse? Do we need to give these horses another 30 days? Do we need to give them another 60 days? Well, why the first Saturday in May? Why not the first Saturday in July? Why not the first Saturday in June? So look, the only way that could be possible is to have leadership at the very top and to bring the huge entities. Because if you bring Naira, if you bring Churchill, you bring the Stronach Group to the table with the jocks, with the jockey club, with everything else that goes with it, Kenny. Everybody else will follow suit. All the other tracks will follow suit. And I believe, and I've been saying this for a long time privately, but this is the time. It is the time now to look at our game with everything that has gone on. Let's not bury our head. What happened with Jason Service and Jorge Navarro and everything that has been going on. Let's not bury our head in the sand here. Let's now. How do we go about that? Well, you got to bring everybody together. You have to have somebody that they trust at the very top and to try to figure this game out. Not only the great things, not only the beautiful things, not only the majestic things, but also to stand up there and say, you know what? Enough's enough. We're not going to run from this. We're not going to hide from this. We need somebody that can galvanize our game. And if we do that, Kenny, we've got an opportunity to take horse racing from this level to another level. And again, I wasn't around in the 50s or the early 60s when horse racing, you would get 35, 40,000 people to the track dressed to the nines all the time, where it was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So I know there's a lot there, but for me, long-winded, very long-winded, I might add, is, the Triple Crown. We can learn from this, Kenny, and I'm hoping that our game and the leaders in our sport will take notice that this is a chance for us to take horse racing to another level. But we can't be short-sighted and not look at what has transpired here, both good and bad recently, and hopefully we can get that together. But you need somebody that's able to have the courage to bring the biggest people to the table, and they need and want to go to the table to be able to help each other out. We know it's a competitive business. We know that. They're out there battling for entertainment dollars. I understand that. But I think it's a time for horse racing to stand up and demand. And look, I didn't even mention this, and it's for the gambler too. We need to make sure that the gamblers have a voice as well. You bring them all together, you get a leader, you get a commissioner, you get one voice there, and you could take this game to another level. I really believe that. And I'm hoping that maybe it's a pipe dream, Kenny, maybe. But in our own little world, and again, there are more important things. I understand what's going on as well, 100%. But in our little world, I would certainly want to be at the forefront there to try to bring people together, galvanize, get a leader, get a commissioner in our game, and take it to another level.
Could not have said it better. Summed up perfectly as always, Eddie. Great job. Perfect. That's why we love to have Eddie Olczyk on the show. Thanks for being on, my friend. I look forward to, well, I guess we'll be talking Skyping or something from Belmont to your house soon, okay?
Sounds well. Be safe out there, Kenny. Always great being with you, pal. Keep up the great work, and give your dad a hug for me, okay?
All right. Hugs to the family for me. Thank you very much. Eddie Olczyk with us here on the Horse Racing Show. Coming up next, Evan Hammonds from the Bloodhorse here on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. So glad that you're with us again this week. Evan Hammonds joins us again for the third time. Yes, we've been keeping score. The managing editor of the Bloodhorse and a dear friend of mine for many years. Welcome back, Evan. Not many three-timers on this show, by the way.
Well, I'm starting to feel like Alec Baldwin on Saturday Night Live. You get to do the show so many times. It's exciting. It's a thrill. It's good that you're trolling the local product for guests on your show.
Well, when I still think of horse racing and I read the form, but it's the Bloodhorse. You go to that. You go to the What's Going On Here segment that Evan writes, and it's about what's going on here. A lot going on here, particularly when we go into a second half of a racing season like never before, which can be said for a lot of sports, but at least racing's going into a second half of the season with a lot of revisions, a lot of changes, some restrictions lifted and rearranged. But nonetheless, racing has continued throughout the year where other sports are even trying to get started right now.
That's correct. And racing has been lucky in that it had, pockets open. Gulfstream was open. Oaklawn entertained us through the spring, as did Fauner Park and Will Rogers Downs. But now it's going full bore at Churchill Downs. Belmont's going to open this week. I know this airs later in the week, but they're supposed to open Wednesday, which makes for some interesting storylines. There's been a long gap here without some major racing, and I think that's it's great that we're back racing, but it's put a strain on the business, as a lot of other businesses have been strained. But if you think about the money situation, you think about owners, the guys and gals that pony up the money to buy these horses. They've had horses in training for several months without many, the large scale places to run, such as Keeneland, Churchill Downs, etc. And if you go back and look, the Keeneland Spring Meet gave out a little over $12 million in purses. Now, I understand they're running a shorter meet in July, but that's $12 million taken off the table. Churchill kind of the same way, and Belmont was even more. I did a little research here, and a year ago, through the first part of the meet, they gave out $15 million in purses. So a lot of owners out there, a lot of trainers, I think, that are on the hook and anxious to get back to racing.
And, I think racing did an okay job of selling itself. I know in the last week or so that, I think the NTRA and the Jockey Club and all involved in doing maybe some more ads and getting it out there that, we're the sport that really never went away. And especially if you're looking for something live to bet on, that's not like Russian hockey or Swedish harness racing in the States. It's been right here with horse racing.
And that's a double-edged sword in a way too, I think, because you want to promote the game and you want to say, hey, we're the only game running, but it is a global health crisis. You don't want to gloat. You not want to throw it out there. So I think racing's done a good job of just presenting the best product they can, and with the meets at Gulfstream and Oaklawn and now at Churchill, it's quality racing, and the quality racing is pretty intense. The two stakes they ran over the weekend at Churchill had really deep fields. They're grade 3 races, $100,000 races. The talent level was deep. I mean, the race at Churchill, the mid julep, it was so deep that even Chad Brown couldn't hit the board in it.
Yeah, I know. And you could tell people have been itching to bet on something. I mean, they've had a nice handle to start with. I imagine it's going to be that way with Belmont reopening out in California. People are just ready for something.
Absolutely, and yeah, the Santa Anita Derbies is coming weekend. I would imagine that's going to be robust, and Belmont should have some really strong handle figures.
Now, you in one of your recent columns about what's going on here, talking about the second half. One of the things is an adjustment on the scale of money as compared to the state of the race or the status of the race, be it grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3. Okay, I don't have a horse in the hunt here. I'm not racing anything. I don't own any part of a track. But I think I'm good with the adjustments for this given time period, and then put an asterisk by it later. I don't see a downside to start worrying about how much money is associated with the grade 1 or 2, at least for this time around, considering everything else. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, you're right there. As far as the purse money goes, you want to make sure that it's equitable all the way down the line. So to take 50,000 or 100,000 out of a grade 1 race, is it going to hurt an owner? Sure, but it also allows purse money for those other allowance races, claiming races. It's the age-old argument of having the really high-priced stakes race and then having enough money to pay your average horseman. So I think they've done the right thing. And I mean, let's be honest, a good portion of the money for purses these days comes from alternate gaming, which is instant racing slot machines, wherever what state you're in. Those have all been closed since March, so there's no revenue there. So that's a sizable revenue stream for purses that's been cut off.
Evan Hammonds, managing editor of the Bloodhorse, must read each week, is our guest here on the Horse Racing Show. And Evan, one of the things is there's not been a negative thing about horse racing this year. Unlike this time last year when Santa Anita and the problems they were having dominated everything. It was, and not trying to make light of everything here for certain, but it was the coronavirus of horse racing last year. Anytime a horse went down on any other track, everything went back to Santa Anita. This year, we haven't had that kind of discussion.
Well, we haven't had that discussion from a horse standpoint, from a horse health standpoint, which is great. But we did have some federal indictments on a couple of the trainers that came down. And I can't remember whether it was late February, early March, but right before everything shut down, and everybody is not everybody, but there's a lot of people still waiting for some smoke to come up out of the chimney from some courthouses in New York once they open back up. So it hasn't been clear sailing, but as far as a equine health situation, it has been.
Cynics would say, well, that's because there's not been much horse racing. That's why all the horses are healthy. You haven't heard about horses being injured. That might be part of it. I'm not being naive about this, I don't think, but by and large.
That's a fair point, but I think it's a testament to the horsemen and the grooms who've been tended to these horses since the pandemic started to keep them well fed, well groomed, well trained throughout the pandemic, as everybody most of the country's been sheltering in place.
We're talking with Evan Hammonds of the Bloodhorse. When we come back, we're going to talk about the new road, the new look on the road to Churchill Downs, now the first Saturday in September. That, and maybe even we'll talk about one of the horses that was mentioned out there. So out in this whole deal with the drug use and everything, and that, of course, would be Maximum Security. Stay with us. There's more here on the Horse Racing Show coming up. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad you're with us. Delighted to have Evan Hammonds, managing editor of the Bloodhorse, with us. Before the break, we had talked about the issue that came out at the first part of the year. And really, that was when the stock market was having problems. That was right about the time the coronavirus started. So from a standpoint of horse racing, in a weird kind of way, it was perfect timing that the attention was a short span, given to a couple of trainers accused of loading up their horses with illegal substances. One of those accused of this that the FBI has been looking into is Jason Service, notably the trainer of Maximum Security, the 3-year-old of last year, the horse that most thought was the best horse in the country. this year. He's now gone over to Bob Baffert's barn. Of course, that happened several weeks ago. And really because of the timing, you didn't get the attention. That story didn't get the attention nationwide that it probably would have, I think, Evan.
Well, yeah, and then again, those indictments came down. There were some dates set for some preliminary conversations, and those went by the wayside with the virus. You never want to root for a good pandemic world shutdown, but racing, these guys caught a little bit of a break with becoming the fourth, fifth, or sixth story down the page.
Yeah, they really did, because I mean, this has all the makings of a Scorsese movie. I mean, you've got you got this little outfit, this little pharmacy in a little town called Nicholasville, Kentucky, not too far out of Lexington, that's involved, that's been accused, and the FBI was looking into it, and you got this, kind of kindly, I mean, a very unassuming guy for many years as a trainer, did solid work that suddenly has, and all this is involved with illegal drugs and involved in the most famous horse probably on the track at that time in maximum security. I had a guy call me, and not to debate me, but in my opinion, why I keep voting him number one in the NTRA poll, which I haven't every week, but I have in times. And I said, I'm still of the, innocent until proven guilty. And he passed all his tests, and Larry Bramlage took care of him and examined him, who's as good as I think you can get in the vet business. And so that's where I'm going with it. Maybe this horse is really good. Maybe he's the horse that didn't need the juice. I don't know. But if somebody can tell me, I don't see why to punish the horse as opposed to investigating the trainer.
Well, I think you got a good point there, too. And I also have a vote in the NTRA poll. And he was a clear number one. I mean, he was a clear standout last year as the best 3-year-old in training. He was a clear standout early part of the year, but I'm kind of like you. I kind of dropped him from the poll, and I kind of waver back and forth as to why I did it. Because he is innocent until proven guilty, but the folks in Saudi Arabia withholding the purse from that Saudi Cup. So I think there's a lot of questions. So, it's either he's number one on your poll ballot or he's not on the ballot at all. And for the last couple of weeks, I've kept him off. And you also, to the point of Gary and Mary West, they have the maximum security is the son of New Year's Day, who was served just a few short seasons at Hillendale Farm before shipping overseas, and he had another graded winner the other day in Fighting Mad, won the Santa Maria Stakes at Santa Anita. So, maybe he's a very underrated stallion that didn't really get a chance.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it. It's kind of like Charlatan right now. I didn't drop him out of the 3-year-old poll because they're looking at, and I thought that was an interesting situation. And I'm a friend. I like Bob Baffert. We go way back. I thought he made a good point about maybe this shouldn't have been leaked. It shouldn't have been leaked, in my opinion, by the Arkansas Commission. Don't you look into that stuff first before you start just throwing it out there, because it confuses those that don't follow the sport. Oh, no, look, everybody's cheating. That's what they say, that don't follow every week, that they're not reading the Bloodhorse every week.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because the Bloodhorse got completely ripped on social media for being so late with the story. And the reason we were late with the story was we were trying to do it correctly and talk to Bernie Heddle, and we did. And he was actually very helpful and said what he was supposed to say is, I think it was 1 or 2 horses. He didn't mention who. He just said 1 or 2 horses. We have some suspicious tests from 1 or 2 horses from over the weekend, which is really all he should have said.
Right.
There's a lot more out there online, different sources, and so we had to chase those down, and we were several hours late with the story, but we got it right.
Yeah, and there used to be something about that, right? Don't be the first. Would you rather be first, or would you rather get it right? Although I think with politics, with news, with sports, that's the horse racing. It's gone out the window sometimes.
Well, it's going out the window a lot this year, but we are still trying to stick to our guns, and again, we get ripped on it from time to time, but we're not going to do it unless we have learned and been burned by trying to be first and not being right. So it's better to be late and have the correct story.
you know, what's going to be fun in some ways this year, we were talking about the star of the show is, you know, when have you ever gotten excited, unless you had a horse in it or a friend who had a horse in it, the Ohio Derby, the Indiana Derby, the Los Alamitos Derby, the Ellis Park Derby, but now there's stepping stones on the road to the Kentucky Derby for the first time ever.
Yeah, actually, you talk about what's going on here, and then what's going on here you haven't read yet, but it's coming out this week. I kind of mentioned that, and the next couple of weeks are just are there going to be enough good 3-year-olds to run in these races? You've got, you know, the Santa Anita Derby this weekend, followed by the Belmont, which of course the best are going to go in the Belmont, but right after the Belmont, 2 weeks later, I think it's 2 weeks later, I have to look at the calendar, but you've got the Bluegrass, you got the Indiana Derby, which is a grade 3, you got the Ohio Derby, you've got the Haskell. That's all just, you know, there in the Midwest. So it's going to be very interesting how these races take shape and who's doing what where.
Do you have any problem with the Belmont being 1 1/8 miles? I know some purists right off said, this is, the Triple Crown as we know it is dead. This is the worst thing. The humanity. I'm thinking, who in the right mind is going to run a horse at 1.5 miles right now? I mean, they would have had a field of no one.
Yeah, I have no problem whatsoever with the Belmont being 1.8 miles. Just considering the year, considering there have not been the prep races. And, you know, to be honest with you, a 1-turn 1.8 miles race at Belmont Park might be just as difficult as running 1.5 miles, you know, in June after running a couple of other starts. So it's a true test, and I don't have any problem with. I don't want to do that every year, but it certainly fits this year. I have no issue with it.
Are you be covering the Belmont? I mean, there's going to be some limitations on. There's no fans, but they're going to have some limited media members, the way I understand it. I mean, I'm going to be one of them up there, so I would. In case you want to come by and wave to me, I'll wear a mask. I mean,
you've taken our slot. No, but from what I understand, as it is of today. Now, again, the narrative changes every couple of days. We're checking with Pat McKenna and the crew at NYRA, but there's going to be a limited number of media, and we have Bloodhorse as one spot, so it's not going to be me, but we do have a very capable writer, Bob Ehalt, who lives in Connecticut, and he's kind of our New York guy. So we're going to have him there. We have some other correspondents we use in New York that can be there. Also, everybody here in the office will be at the ready. And, you know, if there's not the fans, and there's not, even if they allow owners, they're not going to allow owners in their entourage. It'll just be like an owner. So we'll do, you know, as of today, we'll do what we have been doing for the last since the Florida Derby, or since mid-March, and that is you got to work the phones, because most owners they're not at the track, they're watching from home too. So you got to, you do your homework, find out where these guys are, and track them down afterwards. It's a little sterile, but you do what you got to do.
Well, that's like everybody. I'm curious how it's going to be with no fans there. I mean,
who are you going to interview? Who are you going to interview?
I may have a pole. I may have the pole with the mic, the giant boom mic, holding it out there, trying to run after Barclay Tagg or something. I don't know yet. I really don't. We're fluid has been the word of the year, hasn't it? It's a fluid
you got that right. Well, we'll have NBC put you out there at the Secretariat's pole, at the 31 length pole, and you can do an interview from out there.
I told him, I said, we're going to have a limited crew up there. Some of it's going to be done from studio. Some of us will be on location, a few of us. And I said, as big as it's going to be, big as the track is, with no fans there, we could have like 20 people there and not be within 40 yards of each other.
Not within 400 yards of each other.
Yeah. So, but that's the way it is, and we adapt and we go on. And every now and then we get Evan Hammonds to be on with us and make our show as he's done today. Evan, I really appreciate your time, my friend.
It's my pleasure, and we're always, the Bloodhorse is always here in Lexington for you and for readers out there of the magazine, the daily product, and the website.
All right, and I encourage everyone to do it as I do each week. All right, stay with us. More coming up here on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back in. A few moments to go here. Thomas, have you and Ben been watching some of these old baseball games, football games, basketball games, whatever?
Yeah, I actually was eating lunch with my father, and we watched, I believe it was Kentucky versus LSU from 1986.
Yeah. It's fun. If you like a sport out there, I would encourage you to watch some of these old games. I've caught myself watching them, games that I knew how the outcome would be, but I forgot about moments. I only bring this up because coming up Saturday at 4 o'clock on NBC, relive the 2015 Triple Crown of American Pharaoh as he goes for the Belmont Stakes. That's going to be on 4 to 6 Eastern time on NBC. And I was there, and it's a moment I'll never forget talking to Bob Baffert right after he won the Triple Crown. Had he not won that Triple Crown, had there not been a Justified come along 3 years later, you wonder if the Triple Crown would be the way that it is now, if they wouldn't be demanding that there would be some kind of change. I think there would have been, because if Baffert hadn't won that with American Pharaoh, I just think it would have been a whole new ball game. And then if Justify hadn't come along, because at that stage people were saying it's getting impossible to win this Triple Crown, maybe we should change up the dates, maybe we should have more time between races. Eddie Olczyk brought up a good point about that. Evan Hammonds talking about the way things have changed right now in horse racing. Great stuff again today here on the Horse Racing Show with those special guests. So for Ben Chaffins and Thomas Kenny, I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for tuning in this week. Look forward to talking with you again right here next week on the Horse Racing Show.